What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about one of my most anticipated films for the remainder of the year. And I'm really bummed out that I did not see this when it first released, but life got kind of crazy. It was difficult for me to get to the theater. I really haven't gotten to go to the theater as much lately as I wanted to, but it's kind of the way life is. I mean, things get crazy and you kind of fit things in where you can. But this was one of my big ones to check off before I make my end of the year list. And this is from the great Martin Scorsese. And I heard a lot of wonderful things about this movie when it was released. I know that his last film, The Irishman, was kind of polarizing with the reviews, but I thought it was brilliant. I did a whole review on that a while back for my Criterion Corner segment on my channel. I love Martin. I think that he truly cares about film. I think he cares about what his films are trying to convey. At his age, you wouldn't think he'd be churning out some of the most important and incredible pieces of cinema that like you do that early in your prime, and then like you look at a guy like Steven Spielberg, who The Fabelmans was really good, but prior to The Fabelmans, I feel like it's all his films kind of bleed together for me. There hasn't really been anything in the past couple years that are that interesting, and Scorsese continues to pique my interest whatever he works on. And this movie I was really excited to watch because I'll tell a little story before I get into the review. When I was finishing up film school, I was in this class with about 20 people, and my instructor knows Lily Gladstone. And so we got to do a Zoom conversation with Lily Gladstone. This was well before the film was released, over a year and a half. And she told us some stories about working on set and about like the non-verbal communication that Leo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese have together. And it was a really amazing experience. Lily is like a truly wonderful human being that has so much insight about the film industry. And so I was really hyped up about watching this movie after that conversation. And I'm very excited to discuss Killers of the Flower Moon with you today. Killers of the Flower Moon is directed by Martin Scorsese. When oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. So as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie. I love Martin Scorsese, and masterpiece probably isn't strong enough of a word to describe this film. I think this is one of the most important films of the year. It might be one of the most important films of the past 10 years. And I say that because it is representing a marginalized group of people that does not have their voice heard enough. What Native Americans have been through in this country since the beginning is absolutely horrific. To see how they have been taken advantage of, how they've had things stolen from them, how they have been manipulated and murdered for the benefit of white people in America is truly unsettling. And the fact that Scorsese was so moved by this book when he read it that he wanted to bring it to life on screen, I think it's incredible that someone at his age is making films that are so impactful. And I'm very excited to discuss this film today. So at the beginning of the film, we're dropped into 1920s Oklahoma, and we learn about the Osage a little bit. They are this tribe of Native American people who, from early on, you can tell they kind of struggled with money, and they're trying to stay together. And we see these guys, they're out working and they strike oil. And what happens is when they strike oil, they share the wealth among the Osage people, and they become one of the wealthiest Native American tribes in America. At that time, they build this town. They're able to operate their own community because they've struck this oil. And of course, white people move into the community and they try to take advantage of the Osage people and try to get some of their money from them. And very shortly after we learn all that information, we are introduced to Ernest, played by Leo DiCaprio, who is coming home from the war. And he goes to meet his uncle, William Hale, played by Robert De Niro, who seems to be loved by the Osage people. He speaks their language. He knows everyone in the community. He distributes wealth to help people with their businesses. And you can tell people really admire him in this community. And he talks to him a little bit and says, "Hey, I think you're going to fit in really well. I might have some work for you to do around town." So after that, Ernest is trying to find work, and he goes into town trying to drive Osage people around back and forth to their homes that don't have cars. He is introduced to Molly Burkhart, played by Lily Gladstone, who is one of the Osage people. The two of them kind of hit it off after they meet one another, and they form this relationship. While this is occurring, Osage people are being murdered one by one by one. And the entirety of the film is us very early on figuring out who is committing these murders against the Osage people. people and seeing the aftermath of these deaths and how it affects the community, what the government and what the FBI try to do to help out. And we're getting this whole story while having this very specific relationship conveyed to us between this white man and this Osage woman. And everything else is kind of occurring around them, and we're introduced to a lot of different characters, and it's really, people kind of talked about it as a mystery. It's not really a mystery because you learn who it is very early on, but it's more of an exploration of the mistreatment of the Osage people. As I said at the beginning of this video, I would call this movie a masterpiece for a multitude of reasons. For starters, the performances in this film. I thought Leo DiCaprio was great. I am not a huge fan of Leo DiCaprio, but he kind of plays a moron in this movie. He plays a guy who comes home from war, who is one of the most easily manipulated people that you can imagine. As soon as someone tells him to do something, he just does it, and he doesn't even think about it. And it's really interesting to see a lead character in a film that is so malleable. I don't feel like you get that very frequently in any type of cinematic form, as someone who can just be pushed and pulled within the span of 5 seconds. And I thought that was really interesting that his character was written that way. Lily Gladstone's performance in this film is one of my favorite performances from any actor this year. She is phenomenal. If I have any complaints about this movie, which I don't have a lot, it would be that I just wish she had more screen time, because she eats up every single scene that she is in. Just incredible. Talk so much about how facial expressions and bodily movements mean so much in a film, and she commands your attention in every single scene. Just a remarkable performance. I can't say enough. There are a ton of amazing actors and actresses in this. The amount of Osage performers in this film that deliver amazing performances is incredible to see. And I loved how many members of the Osage people and of Native American communities were in this movie that made it so accurate to the time period that you could feel that pain and that suffering that this group was going through in this time period. For per Scorsese's usual, the cinematography in this is remarkable. The score to this movie, with the actual drums that you can hear in these communities, the music that is very accurate to the Osage people, I thought it was beautiful. And it built up this level of tension and suspense that this movie is like 3 hours and 28 minutes, and it went by in a blink of an eye. I was completely hooked to the screen from the first frame all the way until the very end. As I said at the beginning of this review, movies like this are so incredibly important because there are so many marginalized groups of people who live in the United States of America that have been taken advantage of and that have been treated horribly just for existing, and none worse maybe than the Native American people and what they've been through since the establishment of the country, having their land taken from underneath them, and then openly teaching us how to farm crops and all these things that we learned from the Native Americans, and we just take and take and take and take from them. And I thought, watching a movie about, a Native American tribe that was struggling, that struck oil, and it's like, look, here is us going on the up and up. We're going to be able to recover and maybe build this beautiful community that can thrive once again. And to have white people come and steal everything from them again, and to kill these people just for thriving and succeeding, it was heartbreaking. Devastating isn't even a strong enough word to describe watching this. And what I thought was so poignant about this film is that the people committing these acts do it in a way that is so nonchalant, and they just do not care. There's no emotion whatsoever towards these people. It's just like, oh, we've got to get their money, so we'll manipulate this person and kill this person to collect insurance money, and we'll do this. And it's like they're pawns in a chess piece, and that they're not human beings. And watching that, there's just such a poignancy to how these people have been treated since the existence of the country, and it was heartbreaking. The third act in this film, there's a scene in the last 20 minutes that I won't go into detail about, that might arguably be one of the best scenes that Scorsese has directed in his entire career. It is one of the most poignant sequences in a film to describe how people view tragedies towards marginalized groups of people in a way that is so kind of just brush it off, use it for entertainment, and less of like actually reflecting and doing something about it. And it really just made me think a lot while after I watched it, and my mind just kept kind of rolling after experiencing this film because I think it's saying something so incredibly important while also being a very entertaining, well acted, well executed movie. And seeing Scorsese in his age put out movies like this that are just so incredible is really just a testament to how amazing of a filmmaker that he is. And he's someone who I've watched a lot of films in his catalog, and I could see this easily being top three. Just one of the best films I've watched the whole year. It's definitely going to be in contention for one of my favorites of the year. This has just been such an amazing year for film. I'm kind of blown away at how many incredible works of cinema that have been released this year. And if you haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon and you're a fan of film, this is a must watch of the year. So have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was brilliant. As I said, I don't think masterpiece is even a strong enough word to describe this movie. I already am excited to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.